I really hope this is a good patch. Beta patch notes version 0.111.0. Time for another beta patch. Heads up that there won't be a... Oh no, there won't be a patch on the 27th as our team is taking a break in the last week of August. As we'll explain a bit further in the upcoming Meows letter, there may be a longer wait in general for the next patch as we've shifted our focus to some big, much anticipated pieces of content. Okay, I hope they tell us what that is in this. I hope they tell us what it is. At least, like, give a hint. You know what I mean? In the meantime, let's look at this update's highlights. First off, there are a couple of card reworks and lots of various balance changes, as well as UX and performance improvements. Also, we have officially implemented Indonesian localization. In the art and virtual effects realm, we've added some cool new card art and excitingly low HP idle animations for all the playable characters. Now when you're close to death, you'll at least have some fun visual flair to go along with it. Okay, I'm going to be on this all the time. You know I hate HP. We look forward to hearing all your feedback. Now on to the rest of the patch notes. Content and balance. Let's talk about the Ancients first. They nerfed Teskatara's Brightest Flame card. Max HP loss increased from 1 to 2. I think that's fair. It sucks, but I think it's fair. Because, like, Brightest Flame was so beyond broken. Now it comes down a little bit back down to earth. And there's some good Teskatara's relics that got buffed recently. So it'll be nice. They also nerfed Beautiful Bracelet. That I'm a little surprised at. Now enchants 4 random cards instead of allowing you to select the cards to enchant. Interesting. I don't like that at all. I really don't like that at all. But I understand. I guess that's fine. Won't get abused now. Yeah, Brightest Flame won't get abused now. But Beautiful Bracelet. I'm very surprised at that. That's a pretty bad nerf. I guess it does enchant an extra card, but I think that's rough. Like, I don't know how easily pickable that is now. There was no downsides before. I guess this is a little bit of this is a big downside actually. So I guess I get it. Enemies, they buffed Axbot. Hammer uppercut move in damage increase from 12 to 14 or from 14 to 18 on higher ascensions. Now gains plus 10 max HP every time it spawns, and the 1-2 damage goes from 9 to 10 or 10 to 11 on higher ascensions. They also buffed Mechanite. Now also deals 8 damage on its flamethrower turn or 12 on higher ascensions. That's gonna be tough. Axbot was really good already if you didn't have a good build for it, and Mechanite was of course extra good in Act 3. They're trying to make Act 3 really good again. Like, they're trying to not make it so easy to get through. A lot of times you get through Act 2. You can usually get through Act 3 and get up to the bosses pretty easily. So Mechanite now dealing damage on, I guess the flamethrower turn is the one where he gives you burns, but maybe I'm wrong about that. They buffed Exoskeleton. HP increased from 25 to 29 to up to 26 to 30. That's fine. They also buffed Globehead. Galvanic power at A9 increased from 6 to 8. It's not like huge buffs for Exoskeleton or Globehead, but they're still strong. Laos Progenitor also got a buff. Strength gain at A9 increased from 5 to 7. So that's pretty fucking scary. I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty scary. Louse Progenitor could also be a run ender if you weren't properly prepared. They buffed Soulfish. The degas move damage at A9 increased from 17 to 18. Interesting. Soulfish already was reasonably tough. They changed Rend. Okay, we're on to colorless cards, and they changed Rend. I'm really glad to see this. I don't know what the change is, but Rend sucked. Energy cost decreased from 2 to 1. Base damage decreased from 15 to 10 and 18 to 12. This is probably pretty great because Rend was basically unplayable, and now it can sometimes be like a Act 1 card that you can grab from a shop in order to help you get through Act 1. You know, this is like a damage source for sort of when you're first starting out, because the 2 cost and then just like a barely viable increase once you debuffed enemies was really bad. It was really bad. They changed Salvo and Splash cards. They swapped rarities. Splash is now rare. Salvo is now uncommon. I think that's completely fair. Salvo was hard to take because it was a rare, so it was a lot more expensive, and it was good. It was very good, but it wasn't like it wasn't necessarily world shaking, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't necessarily that amazing. Splash is really, really, really good, so making it a rare is fine. Now we got Ironclad cards, reworked Expect a Fight. It went from an uncommon skill, gain 1 energy for each attack in your hand. You cannot gain additional energy this turn, and became an uncommon skill that cost 3. Gain 15 block, gains 5 additional block for each strength you have. That's a very, very interesting change. I think I've got to test that. I've got to play that before I make a decision on whether or not I like that. A 3 cost is really a lot, but it could give you a ton of energy. I mean, a ton of block. Expect a Fight, honestly, I know there were some people that liked it, but that card was completely dog shit, to be honest. It was really bad. It was really bad. They buffed Forgotten Ritual. No longer requires a card to be exhausted to gain energy. So it just gives you energy. I'm not going to lie, that's kind of wild. It was already a pretty good card. To buff it so that you just gain energy from it automatically, people must really be struggling with Ironclad if that's the case. That's surprising. And they also buffed Rampage. All right. Rampage's base damage increases from 9 to 10. The scaling damage when it's upgraded is instead 10. People are not going to take Rampage. Like, they're not. But a buff to Rampage is not going to do anything. Rampage is still, like, it's probably fine to grab early game just to get some damage, but outside of that, like, Rampage falls off like midway through Act 1. We're on silent cards. Nerfed Blade of Ink. Inky enchantment no longer gives additional damage, still applies weak. The additional damage is not what made Blade of Ink broken. Straight up. It's the weak. It's the weakening. So I don't think this is going to necessarily be that big a change. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Blade of Ink, maybe that the additional damage was that crazy. They nerfed Mirage. Now exhausts and loses exhaust on upgrade instead of lowering from 1 to 0 cost. I think that's fair. I think that's completely fair. Mirage was really broken if you had a good poison build. So there we go. Region cards buffed alignment. Star cost decreased from 3 to 2. That's really good because I never took alignment because the star cost is really expensive. So I'm glad to see that. They also buffed Spoils of Battle. The Forge increased from 5 to 6 or 8 to 9 on the upgrade. That's very good as well, because Spoils of Battle it's not that great. So a little bit of a buff could be really nice. They nerfed Refine Blade, which also makes sense because Refine Blade was really good. And the forge decreased from 9 to 8, or it went down from 13 to 12. So interesting. They changed Guiding Star. Card draw changed from this turn to next turn. Why? I'm not really sure why. Guiding Star wasn't that great in the first place, so I'm kind of surprised. Guiding Star was weird. I didn't really take Guiding Star that often, so changing the draw to next turn feels like I would take it way less. And that it is what it is. They also nerfed Regilite, the relic. Block gain decreased from 6 to 4. That's a perfectly fine nerf. Regilite was kind of absurdly good. I'll be honest. It was pretty insane. Necrobinder changes. They buffed Shroud. Block gain increased from 2 to 3, and on the upgrade from 3 to 4. Probably needed the buff. It probably did need the buff. I'm fine with that. I think the buff is good. It wasn't that great in the first place. Shroud only really works with the power that puts doom on an enemy, on a random enemy. So I'm not really sure that this is a good enough buff. If it goes up to like say 4 or 6 on the upgrade or something like that, it'll probably be a lot more viable. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to play with Shroud a little more. They buffed Time's Up. No longer has Exhaust. Time's Up's another card that's just like not that great. I don't know if like taking away the Exhaust is really going to fix that. To be honest, I'm not sure. Holy shit. Defect changes. They reworked Hyperbeam. Instead of deal 30 damage to all enemies or 38 on the upgrade and lose 3 focus, they deal 24 damage to all enemies, lose 3 focus this turn. It now deals 24 damage to all enemies, lose 3 focus. Oh, 3 focus this turn. Okay, learn to read. Learn to read. You only lose the 3 focus for that turn. That's pretty insane. That's pretty insane. Hyperbeam is now probably a pickable card, where it definitely really wasn't in Slay the Spire 1 or even 2. They also buffed Thunder damage from 6 to 8, and then the upgrade is from 8 to 11. And then they nerfed Null so that the weak application is a little less, which I think makes a lot of sense because Null was really, really strong. So giving it a little less weak, instead of giving 2 weak unupgraded, it only gives 1. And if it's upgraded, it gives 2 instead of 3. I think that's good. They also nerfed Synchronize. Synchronize is also pretty broken. Focus decreased from 2 to 1 and 3 to 2 on the upgrade. So those are the patch changes. Unfortunately, no hints as far as I see. No hints on what's coming, but keep an eye out for the Niao's letter. Okay? The Niao's letter is coming up probably in a couple days. I would assume it's coming. I would hope it's coming like by the beginning of next week, but we don't know. We don't know. Or at least I don't know. But they should tell us big time changes. So I am very much so looking forward to a huge patch next time. And these balance changes are interesting. I'm gonna play it and see how it goes.